In this video, I'm going to show you the very best settings I have personally found to scan your artwork at the highest, most clearest way. So you're going to go into your Canon IJ Scan Utility Light. Now, don't hit any of these buttons because those ones will essentially look for your scanner. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click Settings. And then in settings, you can see that you have every option that was in the screen before you have in here, but now you can edit the settings, which is exactly what we want to do. So there are a couple other things I'm going to go through in here as well, just so that you know how to set this up as correctly as you can. I'm going to go through each one of these, so don't worry in case you are like, whoa, I want to scan a document. You'll be able to do that. Okay, so the very first thing is you can change the name of your images if you want to. Instead of having IMG, you can put it whatever you want. That's how you do that there. And then right here, you can click Add. And if you click Add, then what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to add a folder that you want to put all of those scans towards. So I personally will choose scans because that's the folder I made. So I'm going to click that and then I'm going to click OK. So if you need to make a new folder, you'd click the plus sign, then create the folder and then choose the folder. So I'm going to click OK. So now what will happen is every time I use the auto scan feature and there's an auto scan button on your scanner. So every time you click that, then basically what it's going to do is it's going to save those in scans. Now, you know, as the organized artist, I'm very big about organizing your files. So you will notice on my computer that they are super duper organized. So I'd encourage you to start organizing your files as well. So my main scans go into here. So these are like, especially if they're larger pieces, they're the broken up bits, right? And then I go into this folder and I take those and then I'm going to stitch them together in Affinity. Just make it something that you will be able to easily find on your computer. Okay, and then you can see that you can choose the image quality here. So we can set that to high, and then PDF compression will be, I just leave it at standard. Okay, and then the open with application, you can choose how you want this to open. So I choose generally Finder, and the reason is because that's where my file is going to be located inside, right? Because that's where my folder is. So I leave it here at Finder, and then my Finder is going to open. All my documents are going to be there. And let's say I have 4 scans that equals 1 picture. I'll be able to find those really easy to then bring them into Affinity. So I tend not to, like open them in anything else or send them anything else kind of thing. Okay, so then you would click OK if that was the only one that you wanted to change. All right, so let's go on to Document Scanner. You can see here, you can choose the color mode. So you can have it grayscale if you want, or black and white, or color. Obviously, if you're scanning artwork, it's going to be in color. But if it's a document that's, say, like a black and white document, then you would check on that. And you can change these at any time, so you can change them for any document. And then you can choose what size of document it is. So you can see that there are some sizes here that you can choose from. And then you can also click custom and you can make a custom one. So let's say you want, for example, my artwork, a lot of it is 11 by, oops, oops. Oh, we can't do that. Okay, height can be 11. Okay, you get the idea anyway. You can create this, but obviously you can only have 8.5 by 11 because that's as big as the scanner is, right? So then you can click OK. And then here we're going to go ahead and change the DPI to 600. That's just so that we have the optimum DPI to use um, for our scan. And then this is pretty much the same, right? So you can have a PDF multiple pages, you can have a JPEG, just a plain PDF, or a TIFF or a PNG. And then you can choose standard or high compression, and so on and so forth. And then the application is the same, the opening in the folder. Okay. So then we go to photo scan. Photo scan is generally what I use to scan my artwork with. And that's just, I find it the easiest. But first, you're going to want to make sure that you change a few things. So the first thing, you're going to want it in color. Obviously, if it's a color one, if you scanned it and it was black and white, you could also do that. And then you can make sure that it's an auto scan. And I personally choose auto scan because then it's just going to know the size that's on the scanner, right? And then resolution, I always change that to 600 dpi. And then you can see where I have it saving, and the format that I save in is a TIFF. You can choose to save in either a JPEG or a PNG, and that's totally up to you. But this is how I have mine set up. And then you can open it with the application. So I have mine the same way with the Finder. Okay. So you can also click this little button and you can also check scan results and then specify the saving where you want to save it. So if you want to save it somewhere different. Okay, custom scans. I don't really use this, so we're not really going to go through it, but there's the same scan options that you've seen before, the same image options we've seen before, and the same application options that we've seen before. Okay, the OCR, I also don't use this, but you can set it only to 400 dpi. That's the most it can do. And then you can see the same save settings and so on and so forth. Okay. Then email, I also do not use this. This is essentially like if you wanted to email this to somebody, you would use this. And then scan and stitch. So let's talk a little bit about scan and stitch for a second because I have used this feature, but I prefer scanning and stitching it in Affinity because it will work way better. And don't worry, I will show you exactly how to do that. But this might work for something simple, but I found it kind of clunky and cumbersome, and it was just really difficult to move the pictures to be exactly the way that I wanted them. So I don't actually use that, okay? And then driver, this is essentially like um, something that I also don't really touch, so I just leave this at the exact same thing that it was at. So the one that you're going to pay attention to the most is the photo scan. And just make sure that you have all of these like at 600 dpi, and then choose where you're going to have your file saved and that it will open in the Finder window. And then once you've done that, you can click OK. And voila. Now, when you click the photo option, it will have saved those settings. So when you click the photo option to actually scan with your scanner, then you'll be able to scan at those settings that you've already set. So you don't have to worry about doing any of that. It's kind of done in the background in here. So let's just talk about these other tabs here. So this tab right here is if you're scanning from the scanner bed itself. So if you press the buttons on the front of the scanner, these are the settings that it's going to do. So if we go into auto scan, for example, it's going to save it in pictures, but we want to save it in scan. So make sure to change that. And then also the image quality, you might want to change that to high. And then it opens up in the Finder window. Okay. So then there's the copy button. You can see all about that. And then the send button, which is, I mean, it's basically emailing it. So I don't actually use these because I have way more control over my pieces by scanning it right here on the actual settings tab. Okay, let's talk a little bit about these. These are just the general settings, okay? So file size to attach to email, document language, unsharp mask level, and so on and so forth. So I don't play with those. The most I use is this tab here and mostly the photo scan. So you can see I've got that all set up. Then we're going to go ahead and click OK. And voila. Now you're ready to go ahead and scan your first scan into your scanner. And that was a lot of scanning words.